This episode of the Rotating Tap podcast is brought to you by Epic Brewing Company. These guys make incredible beers, and they're known for a lot of different things. They make a whole gamut of things like Pilsners to IPAs to, basically any style you can think of. But two of the things that I think they don't get enough credit for are their Imperial Stouts, like their Big Bad Baptist series, and some of their sours that they age in foeders and in barrels, like their Brainless series, which is actually how I got to know them in the first place. I think it was Brainless on Peaches was the first beer that I ever had from them. But these guys don't get enough love for doing really amazing stuff with barrel aging, imperial beers, and because, they just cover the gamut. They've got hard coconut water. They've got amazing hard seltzer. The regular lineup of beers is fantastic. But lucky you can get some of their Brainless stuff that they just released in their Denver tap room, like the Pink Guava Sour Brainless that's been aged on foeders. That sounds pretty dope. I got to get a bottle of that. And then their Big Bad Baptist series. It's available most of the year, I think, but right now they came out with a ton of variants, including the Peanut Butter Baptist, and then we had one the other day on our happy hour that was like literally Mexican cake. It was cinnamon and just tons of deliciousness. Everything was there in balance. It was almost too easy to drink for an Imperial Stout. So go to Epic Brewing in Denver. You can also stop at their location in Salt Lake City. They have a pretty big distribution network, so you can find a lot of their stuff at liquor stores near you. Grab some Epic Brewing stuff. You won't be disappointed, and enjoy the show. Speaking of hip-hop, this podcast is also brought to you by New Image Brewing Company. And I say hip-hop because they used to make this awesome beer called Two Hop Shakur, which is a West Coast IPA. And if you've listened to the show enough times, you know that I'm more the West Coast guy. Steve is the East Coast guy. But I will say, for East Coast IPAs, hazy IPAs, New Image is doing it just about as well as anybody, if not better. I'm actually drinking one of their East Coast transplants right now, which is a flagship beer of theirs, and it's juicy, hazy, tons of orange flavor, no hop burn, it's not cloying. It's pretty fucking delicious. You can order that right from the brewery, and you can also have that shipped to you through their new service, Bev. If you go to New Image's website, you can click on the Ship It button, and you can have a bunch of their beers, including East Coast Transplant, shipped to you, even if they don't currently distribute in your state. So check that out, see if your state's on the list to start getting some of these amazing beers. In addition to that, they just released a ton of new stuff, including this really cool series that they do with this thing called the Dumb Friends League, which is a benefit for shelter dogs, and it helps fund them, take care of animals, helps find these dogs homes. So it's a series they're going to be rolling out throughout the year, but the one they just released is called Home for Pitmas. It's a double IPA, of course, 9.5%, comes in 4-packs, and there's this adorable, derpy looking pit bull on the front of it. So the beer goes to a great cause. If it's from New Image, you know it's dynamite. So order some from them online, or go to the brewery, pick some up yourself, and enjoy the rest of the show.
I think my problem is that I'm just a little bit of a slut when it comes to beer.
Welcome everybody to the Rotating Tap Podcast. We've got Steve Vanderploeg, Korey, David, and special guests. Maybe beer people talking comedy or comedians talking beer. Listen up everybody and we'll see what you will hear. I won't waste any more time because it's going very fast. It's the Rotating Tap Podcast.
Cool. Welcome to the Rotating Tab Podcast. My name is Korey David, and I am in Auburn, New York, of all the places. For a particular reason. I don't know. Actually, I know quite specifically, but we're at Prison City Brewing Company with my buddy Mark Schultz. Mark, could you say hi and tell us what you do here?
Hi, my name is Mark Schultz. I'm co-owner, eye candy mouthpiece for Prison City Brewing. My wife and I own this together. She's the CEO, the HBIC. She runs the entire operation. And am I on?
Yeah, just go a little closer to your mouth.
All right, got it.
Go a little closer to your mouthpiece.
Got it. But really, I don't do anything, Korey. I'm just a sales guy, so we just opened a month ago, so right now I just kind of kick back and homeschool my kids.
Yeah, but when you say you just opened up, it's not like you've already been running this thing for a few years, but you just are in this beautiful new facility.
Yeah, so we opened Prison City Pub and Brewery 6 years ago this month. We actually just celebrated our 6th anniversary last week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And as I was telling you moments ago, like, we never anticipated doing this.
Yeah, you got quite the spot. You're like, we'll go in the barrel room. Like, Mark has a fucking barrel room.
We have a
Like,
barrel. We don't have any barrels, but we have a barrel room. It will be a barrel room eventually.
You got a couple fooders in here.
There's some fooders in here. There is a cool ship that's actually going to be moving. You'll see a large barn across the way.
Did you just like check out like, hey, these are the things that cool trendy brewers have. We need to buy one.
Yeah, we're going to fill it with donuts and shit.
Please.
Yeah, we're just going to all
Crunch.
donut everything. Yeah.
Your favorite breakfast cereal?
Yes. Well, yeah, obviously we do that. We have for a while.
Have you guys done a lot of like adjunct stuff where you're adding cereal and donuts and
So
stuff?
that's a funny thing with brewers, right? It's like adjunct is this really dirty word depending on the adjunct you use. Like we brewed like within our first year this beer called Puff Puff Shiv. And it was a brown ale that wasn't going the way. It was actually an amber ale, but turned out more brown. And, it's such a young brewery. It's like, what do we do with this? And I remember Keegan Ales down in the Hudson Valley came to Tap New York with a bunch of cereal beers. So I looked at Ben. I'm like, why don't we put some fucking cereal in this thing? Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
It's a podcast.
Fuck
right?
yeah.
Okay. I'm used to local radio and TV. I don't get out much. But we did this thing, and it became such a hit that now we're doing it all the time. And Ben hates this goddamn beer. Like, we do it once a year. We release it on Valentine's Day. But he hates making the beer.
Just begrudgingly doesn't want to make it, but knows it's a huge hit.
And we're going to get to the feature beer, this Wham Wham Stout with toasted coconut and vanilla bean. And I'm like, well, those are adjuncts.
Yeah?
So what's the difference?
It's gimmicky.
We're
like
using cereal. Yeah. So it's the whole adjunct world's been fun. But yeah, we're putting fucking donuts on everything.
What's the
Just
cereal?
kidding, we're not putting donuts.
You should.
In there.
What's the cereal that you want to put in a beer the most?
Well, the only one we did was Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, but get some Count Chocula in there. Get a little marshmallow into the
Well,
mix.
so
Some
interestingly
Frankenberry,
enough,
Mark.
we decided we were doing chocolate, and we went to Wegmans and got Cocoa Puffs and Count Chocula and Cocoa Pebbles.
Yeah,
and decided that Cocoa Puffs were the best one.
Really experimenting as brewers.
Oh yeah, we were real. But if you think about it, that was in 2015.
So ahead of your time.
Oh, we invented cereal beer. All apologies to Keegan Ales that actually invented cereal beer.
No, you can say it's you.
We did it.
Keegan's not going to listen
F
to this.
everybody.
Yeah, I was going to
So
say, if
it's
you
the
want to
one.
just take
So
credit,
it's the
just
one
do
beer.
it.
But no, but in all seriously, we are in the barrel room, and we are going to drink Wham Whams that we are barrel aging. So this was originally going to be a combo barrel room. We have the fooders, and we were going to do a bunch of our sour beers in here. But we have this 8,000 square foot facility that was going to be an event center.
Yeah.
Thanks, COVID. Event center's canceled. We're moving our entire sour program into that.
And now you're just going to turn this into a lounge, like a cool jazz lounge.
I live here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids are sick of me. I'm going to move in.
There's actually a mattress in the cool ship. You
You
can't actually see.
That's a really big bed.
You can fit a king size in there.
You know what? Don't give me any more ideas.
I just did.
Thanks.
But that's part of the funk that you're going to put in there.
Nobody wants to drink whatever I leave in there.
What are you talking about? Rogue did like a beard beer.
Yeah, that was gross.
You can get a little taste of all
Oh,
Schultz.
I love Rogue, all respect, OG, but I just couldn't get past that.
There was a handful of things that they did that you wanted to like, but it just didn't turn out well. Remember the whole Voodoo Donut series that they did?
Yes.
It was trash.
It wasn't great. We sold you worked for a distributor at the time. We sold a pile of this stuff, but yeah, no. And then, I mean, it's gone too extreme.
When you think
was
about
the
it-
Italian brewery that did one that harvested yeast from a woman's vagina?
Wow.
It's like, okay.
That would be the first time
Can
I
we
ever
just
went-
go back to using cereal in beer?
Yeah. Instead of some vagina parts.
Just like,
That would be the first time I would ever technically go down on
I
a
didn't
woman.
expect this
if I had-
conversation to go downhill so fast.
You
so
brought
early.
it there.
I know.
You were literally rolling downhill.
Like it's all like now I have to tell a really bad joke after all this.
Yeah, well, we'll get there eventually. So when with Rogue coming out with the Voodoo Donut stuff, they were technically the first people to be doing the pastry
Nationally,
stout thing.
yes.
Yeah, but my problem with those was that they were always like really thin, and it just felt like the flavors were kind of stacked on top of a really.
And nobody
thin
was
beer.
waiting in line outside in 30-degree weather to buy them.
I mean, maybe they would have 20 years ago when Rogue was like a
Too
whole
soon,
thing.
too cool, right?
But they're one of those breweries that they never really adapted with the times very well, in my opinion. I remember the beers were always great. Dead Guy is still one of my favorites, but the problem is that like their kegs were like $250 for like a half.
Yeah, like 6 years ago.
Of Dead Guy, yeah, and this was
Yes.
6 years ago when
Right.
there was just way more people in the
Yes.
industry that were as big as them. The kegs were way cheaper.
Sure.
And then anybody else that might be more local or actually doing stuff more progressively is either about the same price or a little less.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, they were selling beers for that amount, and retailers are like, you're insane. I'm not paying that much for a half keg of beer. And now there are IPAs out there. It's like, oh, it's $375 for this double dry hopped, whatever the fuck it is.
That sounds great.
Send me 4.
Please, give me more of that.
And I'm going to serve it in an 8-ounce glass, and I'm going to be out of it in 2 days. Go figure.
Yeah. But it's all about what people want, and what we've figured out is people are shills, and they're total plebes. And that's the reason that they want cereal beers, and they want things that are super sweet. Have you guys gotten into the slushy sour thing yet?
No.
Good. I'm happy for you.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But this is a nice new facility. We're going to have to pay the bills eventually.
I always quote my friend Joe McBain from the Tap and Mallet in Rochester. You make the beer people want to drink, mate.
I suppose, but then he also runs an establishment that is... It's very reputable, and I think part of the reason it's reputable is because he's always served really great beers and not just hype beers, right?
I mean, hype beers can be great. Treehouse still makes great IPAs. I mean, the fact that they still don't distribute a drop of their beer, and they're selling
it's crazy.
and producing more beer than you could take a handful of brewers throughout the Northeast and combine them all, and we're still not making as much beer as they are. So it's all subjective, right? I mean, I won't go as far as to say people are plebes and whatnot. I don't agree with trends.
I think people are plebes, Mark.
That you can say that. I don't want to end up on the I don't want to get canceled. I just opened this place.
I'm a comic. I'm
ready
allowed
to
to get canceled. It actually
right.
makes my career more viable.
Can we I'm fucking thirsty.
You're thirsty? You want to chug a beer?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the way it's going to work. I'm very excited that you're here for the chug off. I know you seemed like you could. You sounded like you could beat some of the times that we have on that leaderboard. I believe in you.
We'll see.
But that doesn't mean you're going to do it.
I'm just glad you're not asking me to shotgun. I can't. I still, to this day, 47 years old, I don't know how to shotgun.
However you want. If you have a funnel here, you are allowed to do
No,
that
no
too.
funnel. No, old school.
No funnel.
Old
so
school.
are we going for the over 8% here or not?
No, this is a 6.5% IPA.
You're so close.
The one beer that's on, I don't want to drink it. At
What's
8%.
the one that's over 8% that you don't want to chug?
Actually, I don't even know if it's on tap. It's Riot in Maine.
Riot
It's
in
a
Maine?
double IPA.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's on tap, and I forgot there were rules to this thing.
So no, there's loose rules, but if it's over 8%, you get 3 seconds off your time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So whatever.
It's not a lot of rules. So you have to tell us what it is,
Okay.
and then chug the beer, and then you tell us your joke immediately after.
All right, so this is part of our 4-piece series. 4-piece is our pale ale series, single malt. It's our smash, if you will.
It's like a dime
and
piece,
this is
but only
using
4 of them.
Yes, and this is using
great.
Strata, which is out of the Pac West, out of Oregon. A new
I love
hop
Strata.
that everyone seems to be digging on. We've got 2 different beers that we've used it in. So Stupendous, which also has Citra. So it's a Strata Citra combo that's pretty popular. I know like Other Half has done one, I believe. Treehouse also did a Strata. It's impossible to get now, by
There's
the way.
a bunch out in Colorado,
And
so
there's
you
2
should have some gripes with some people out there about everybody pulling
We'll
Strata.
get more, but what's really interesting is that the Strata Citra combo, the Strata comes out as a lot more dank, which is part of like the profile, like weed-like.
Yeah.
And this, just on its own, is like juicy fruit, like total juice bomb.
Yeah.
So however they played off, I don't get it, but that's what I'm...
That's what I
chugging.
guess I'm drinking. So as soon as the glass hits your lips, I will start the timer, and then
All
as
right.
soon as you're done,
You need a countdown, or do I just go?
whenever you're ready,
All
honey.
right, go.
You got this. Under control. I mean, respectable. It's got a little jowl movement there, but just a slight drip. Kind of like if your gutter is leaking and there's just some
I
leaves.
haven't removed the leaves, yeah.
Yeah, but the leaves are your chin. That's
It's
your
all over
facial
me.
hair. Not really, but that's why you've got a work shirt on. You can burp into the microphone. It's highly encouraged.
All right.
Belchability
I haven't
is
chugged
key
a beer
here.
in forever.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad that this could be the first time in forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm just glad we can make this work.
Unbelievable.
I
don't know how
talked
I
him
got
into
talked
this
into
last
this.
minute. I'm like, hey, man, do you want to just be on a podcast episode randomly?
I'm in
I know I
town.
haven't talked to you
Meet
in
me.
forever.
And I'm such a fucking whore that I'm like, of course I want to be on a microphone in front of a camera.
Media, yes.
Yes.
Or is it just more an
Show my
opportunity for you to
face.
talk?
What's that?
It's more of an opportunity for you to just
I love the
speak
sound
and-
of my own voice.
I do too. Isn't that amazing?
That's
It's
why I
funny how
hate
that
Dawn
works.
for making me do all these things.
Yeah, that's her fault, right?
It really is. She's, the CEO. She's in charge. It's her business. I just work here.
Am I media? Is that how you see me, like TMZ?
Fake news, brah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what is media. What
What's
does
the
it mean?
publication here? Is it the Auburn Tribune? Is
We've
that
got The Citizen.
the Citizen?
The Citizen. Yeah. a citizen.
Why did newspapers have certain
I don't
names?
know. I don't make the
The
rules.
Tribune, the Standard, the Times.
None of it makes any sense, but they're right here.
Are you on the good or the bad side of local media? The Auburn Times.
There are several reporters and it's such a small community here.
Yeah.
We've known them.
Yeah.
And the writers have been very kind to us.
I feel like
They're fans. They're in the pub all the time.
They could turn on you fast.
They could. We're right across the street from where their offices are.
This town is ripe for slander.
And they're beer nerds. So we're kind of like a darling, and they love our progress. And anytime something happens at the brewery, good, bad, or otherwise, they're quick to jump on it because, to quote
Ben Franklin,
the journalists, they get the clicks.
Yeah.
When they do a story about us, they get the clicks.
Yeah, they
good,
want
bad, or
that
otherwise.
hot goss.
And it's 90% positive, and then there's that 10% negative. People hate us, and just what this town needs, more alcoholics.
Boy, I can't wait to get into that. I'm really looking forward to talking about the people that don't like you. Because
Yeah.
I know there's lots of people
There's
that
a long
like
list.
you a lot.
Yeah, there's two different lists. There are people that don't like Prison City. That's a short list. There's another very long list of that's Mark Schultz. He's an asshole.
I know that guy.
Yeah, that's
Unfortunately.
Yes.
All right, so your time.
Yeah.
5.72 seconds. Very respectable. It's
All
good.
right. Okay.
Doesn't crack the top 5, but
All right.
still a really
I
great
don't
time.
care.
That's okay.
I got it over with.
What do you mean?
I did it. It's
Don't
over.
act like
now
you
I don't
weren't
have any
looking
more
forward to
beer. You
this.
didn't drink. Whatever.
I'm going to chug this one.
Need someone to go get me
We
another
can
beer.
pause this, and you can always just go grab something else.
Well, I might have to.
Yeah, just go for it. Hold on, let me see if I can pull up the top 10 really quick. We're in Auburn, so the internet isn't that great. All right, so you're just outside the top 10. I mean, we're
Okay.
talking...
You're not first, you're last.
Yeah, I know. But the 10th fastest time at this point... Oh, actually, you're not just outside. 10th fastest time is 3.24 seconds.
Fantastic.
So still very respectable. And just as a man of honor, somebody that respects agreements, handshakes, all that kind of stuff, I will also chug a beer.
All right.
Which I don't do every episode.
Fine.
Because I already do this a lot.
Okay.
But you are going to be responsible for roasting me while I chug.
All right, I'll do my best.
Which is good. I think your best is pretty good.
We'll see.
You're so down on yourself today. You're
I'm
just
not down on
I was gonna
myself.
say,
It's
you're
just
just
there's a lot
poo-poo.
of pressure. It's
You're
like, be
poo-pooing.
funny. Be funny.
Nobody's asking you to do
You're
that.
telling. You're not asking.
I know
You're telling me.
I
You're
know
like,
you
be
can't.
funny.
I know
Yeah.
you can't. So the key is to just not try so hard
Okay.
and just be yourself.
Just slow down.
Just think about something silly.
Okay.
I am drinking something. I'm drinking something alcoholic. It's very hazy. Don't know the name of this beer. I forget it again. It's
It
4
tastes
piece.
really hazy.
4 piece from
You
cans.
can really taste the
It's
haze.
Dime Piece, yeah?
Yes.
I'm drinking Dime Piece Hazy IPA.
That's the Strata. Again,
It's
same
the
beer.
Strata.
Same fucking stupid beer I drank.
Yeah, it's not stupid. It's kind of stupid. All right, so we'll get into this in a second.
I hope you can chug the haze. Well, see, you don't have a beard, so you don't spill it all, and you're just a show off because you do this all the time, and your time is what? 2 seconds? Good for you.
Didn't even time it.
Good for you.
I'm just
I
here-
timed it. It was 2.75 seconds. You're
I'm
the
just here to
best at
have-
this. I think you do this just to shame people. I don't even think you really do a podcast at all.
We're not actually recording
No,
right now.
I know.
Yeah, that's the key.
Any-
That's the trick.
No one's going to see this.
Did you want to grab a beer so you can have something to sip on?
I mean, I prefer it.
Yeah, go grab something.
All right.
Let's put it on pause.
You can put it on pause. Do you
Yeah.
want something?
Okay, and we're back.
Like when you say I have to go to the bathroom anytime, just go for it. Like,
Like now.
just sit here.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just go zen. Don't even think about it.
And
And just
actually, we
relieve
were at a
yourself.
Bills game not long ago with I used to be in sales.
Speaking
and,
of pissing on yourself,
yeah.
I was at a Bills
I mean,
game recently.
The guys, I mean, this is 8 years ago, and we did a bus thing, and it's when Sam Adams' Utopias, I had access to bottles of
Sam
it,
Adams?
and we were drinking it in the parking lot before the game.
Never
Yeah,
heard
that's
of
Sam
it.
Adams'
Yeah.
Utopias. Yeah, terrible brewery. No
not
one
familiar.
drinks their stuff at all. And I just remember this guy just like sitting there, and he looks at me, and he's just like gets a smile on his face, and then like nods off and falls asleep. And then the puddle forms. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Oh,
I'm
God.
glad, I was staring into his eyes.
You
as-
saw him like right before he caved.
Yeah.
Wow, that's dark.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't know, his bowels. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Good seeing you.
Good to see you too. What are we drinking?
This is the 4-piece Citra. So we've got 3 different 4 pieces on.
I'm getting
this is
like
just Citra hop.
It's way more earthy than the other one.
Tons.
Like in terms of you just get that slight vegetal kind of flavor. Mm-hmm. A But yeah, going back to the Strata thing, like a lot more brewers in Colorado are using Strata, and there's more breweries out there that are using like terpenes and isolates and stuff like that. I don't know if that's kind of made its way out here at all.
No.
But
Not that we've used.
Well, out there, they're using there's a lot of companies in the marijuana industry that are, the same equipment processes hops just as effectively.
Yep.
So we're actually able to use a lot of that equipment there that probably don't have access to here.
We're just starting with hemp farms. We just had a couple of cats in last week trying to get us to use some hemp in their beer, and like just gave us a ton of, what I in my college days would have just swan dove into. Like, this is yay, so much weed. And they're like, yeah, you can't get high. I'm like, well, fucking get this out of here. But they want us to do something, and it is legal in New York State, but there are definitely hemp farms that are starting to pop up in the area.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a precursor to, finger crossing that legalization is coming, and then they're going to have the infrastructure, and they can just turn on a dime and be ready to go.
It's kind of silly. I don't even really smoke that much, but it is kind of silly to come back to New York and have to, if I did want to get any weed, I'd have to call somebody and meet in the back of a McDonald's parking lot.
Do it illegally.
Yeah, it's so
the
strange.
state gets none of your money. They're going to come after that money here real soon. COVID's going to change all the rules.
I know. Yeah, well, you want some tax revenue, and you also just want people to feel happy. You want people to feel relaxed.
Stuck at home,
Why
nowhere
is
to
it a
go,
crime? Yeah.
nothing to do.
It's
like we're all permanently living in the movie Friday.
Yeah.
It's literally Friday. I ain't got a job. I ain't got shit to do.
Just casual every day.
It's just everyone get high and fight Debo at the end. And you know what? Sorry, pour one out.
Pouring out for Debo.
Yeah, the Debo. The guy that played Debo just died like last week.
Just what the neighborhood needed.
That was an untimely reference.
Or very timely. I mean, you can make a Titanic reference now. It's fine. Enough time has passed.
Everything's sinking.
What was I going to say? Oh, speaking of drugs, psilocybin's been decriminalized in Colorado.
Correct.
Which is pretty dope. When's the last time you tripped?
Boy, it's going to be interesting to see.
Because you're a Fish fan, you're a hippie guy.
Yeah, but that's a stereotype, man. It's not. It was September.
It's not about the drugs.
It was like 2 months ago.
That's great.
No,
was it mushrooms or L?
It has been. How long has it been? When did Fish play Magna Ball?
Oh, it was
August,
Magna Ball?
like 2015.
That was probably 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That
I felt, and it was so stupid.
So
I was 42 years old and just decided, after drinking a dozen beers all day, like, I'm 19 again.
Yeah, you're just going to pop a couple
that.
caps. Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't move for a week.
I took a bunch of Molly at that show. It was a wonderful time.
Never done it.
And we had a golf cart. So you're just driving around Magna Ball with a golf cart, super high on Molly. And I was driving back to the campsite one night, and this woman, this pregnant woman, just was like, hey, could I get a ride? And I was like, I can't. It's a liability thing. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Whatever. And then I drive maybe 50 feet up the road, and I'm like, if my mom overheard the conversation that just happened, she'd fucking kill me. So I pull a Yui, I pick her up, I'm like, yeah, I'll bring you back. And it turns out that the woman was like the managing editor at High Times. And she hooked me up with like a bunch of edibles.
There you
and
go.
I was so thankful. And I've run into her at multiple.
That's what happens at fish shows, man. It was meant to be.
I've run into her at multiple
miracles
fish shows since then.
Yeah.
It
was fun because I was at TJ Sheehan distributing at the time, and we also had a golf cart. And that was probably the best part of the whole thing. It was just I'm not fucking walking anywhere.
Just being
Get
able
out
to
of my
zip
way.
around and go.
And then my second favorite thing about people on golf carts at that show was we were getting ready to head in on Sunday night, and there was a dude who must have been working in some capacity, and he was dressed in the full banana suit.
Oh, nice.
And he had a banana phone. And he's like, yeah, I can't talk. He's on this fucking fake banana. Like, I can't talk right now. I have a lot of really important shit going on. And we just giggled like, okay, that's funny. That's funny. That's the type of circus you see. And then later on, we were at our beer tent where we were serving Lawson's and Hill Farmstead.
Oh,
and
I
a bunch of
remember.
other beers.
Yeah, those were a
and
hot
we
commodity.
got, because you're vendors, you get to sneak around into all kinds of places that the average person can't. And sure enough, like 3 hours later, I go back to myself, just mellow out and sit down for a second, and Banana Guy is full on passed out in his golf cart. Just done. Just done.
He was businessing too hard.
We're all like selfieing with the poor bastard. And
he went full banana too early in the day.
He Yeah.
I remember that festival. That was such a great time. It was also really cool to be there for the load-in before everything started because you got to see the whole thing get built. Because Fish, for anybody that doesn't know, they used to throw their own kind of 3-day music festival in Watkins Glen, not too far from here. And they had, just like any other music festival, they had all these crazy wooden structures set up, art exhibits, a huge stage, the whole nine. And when you're there at load-in to get your station set up with all the kegs and draft towers, or not towers, but draft trucks and shit like that, you get to watch the whole thing get built and do all the sound checks and stuff.
It's cool as shit.
It was really awesome.
It's really cool. I've been witness to it twice, Super Ball, then Magna Ball, and then the flip side of it not being cool is fucking Curveball.
Yeah.
When, we're all gearing up, brewers from around the Northeast are coming through the pub on their way.
Yeah.
We're ready to rage. We actually, being a small brew pub at the time without production, we made our riot in Vermont because we got invited to pour.
Yeah.
I'm like, of course I want. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
My
this is a
favorite
dream come
band. I
true.
get to pour my beer at this. So we hand canned like 60 cases down in our basement on a little October machine because we couldn't get a mobile canner to come in time.
You're so artisan.
And then fucking canceled.
Yeah,
so I have
it
to
was
rent
flooding.
a U-Haul, drive down there. So the flip side is where it's really cool and you get to see it built when you go down there and just see everyone in full depression mode in mud up to their knees.
Oh, I remember that. That was so sad.
Canceled.
I
It
know.
sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked
Because there's
hard.
so much that went into that. And then to have it just axed because it was like torrential downpours for like 3 days, right?
Yes. It was bad.
Which Wookiees,
on the flip side,
the Wookiees were happy. The Wookiees were like, "We'll sleep here. That's fine. This is the first
the
shower I've had
people-
in
There were
months."
so many people that were there. Speaking of vendors, 2 days before, like on site setting up, that just got to hang out that night.
Yeah.
And they raged and they drank. I think, like some friends that we know, like Jason Ellsworth and people that we know, drank like 2 or 3 cases of this beer, and they still haven't paid me for it. Fucking assholes.
Of course, maybe that's why Ellsworth didn't want to come. I invited him to come on the show, and
I think he's in the teen. I think he's in the queue right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's just usually like out hunting in the woods, searching for bears and Sasquatch.
He is a bear.
for things to kill. But with that Magna Ball in particular, I remember it was the first time for a lot of people that Hill Farmstead and Lawson's was like in the area.
Yeah.
The line was so goddamn long
It was-
to
yeah,
get
it was-
any of
it
those
was
beers.
awesome.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. And it was nice to have all those different brewers in the same area. But remember those hawkers? Like they had the
Yes.
tubs that they put
Yeah,
around
that
their
pissed
chests,
me
and
off,
it was
man.
yeah. And these guys with 24-ounce beers were just going out into the crowd.
And what pissed me off is like my fellow heads are like just crushing cranberritas in 24-ounce cans and not giving a shit that we brought in these awesome heady fucking beers from Vermont. And they're like, yeah, I got to walk all the way over there, and this fucking guy's right here. So we did not go through nearly the amount of beer that we thought when we got hung with a ton.
Yeah, the hawkers killed everybody.
Yes.
And well, when you're rolling for 3 hours and you got your hippie shake going on, you just need something.
Yeah, it
you
doesn't
just need
matter.
any
and
kind
convenience, and you just piss in your spot because you don't want to walk all the way to the Porta-John.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Yeah, just take a page out of your book. Just pee on the
But no,
spot.
that was a very cool experience, and the coolest part for me was like getting to meet and hang out with Sean Lawson.
Yeah.
And
He's dope. He's such a big
There were
Fish
rumors
fan.
that Sean Hill was there, but I didn't meet Sean, but I was able to hang out with a cat, Jim Raris. He was the CFO or CEO of Hill Farmstead at the time, and he and I have since become pretty good friends. Like, we still keep in touch. We hung out at Baker's Dozen because he was living at the city at the time. And we still keep it. He's at night shift now.
Okay. Just
so
kind of shifting around New England.
Yeah, we keep in contact. So out of that, I gained a couple of good friends.
Yeah. Sean is such a huge Fish fan. I've hung out with him in Saratoga before when
Yes.
they were coming out to SPAC and shit. But he's a kooky guy. He's kind of like, yeah,
perfect.
man, I just made this really cool beer called Sip of Sunshine. People seem to love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And that's it. He just puts it on
Perfect.
autopilot.
Tall, lanky, always has a smile on his face, kind of nerdy. But, and it was funny because I think it was just a year before that Don and I were in Vermont, and it happened to be Hill Farmstead's anniversary weekend, and not really understanding at that time how this whole line culture and everything worked. And, trying to get some triple sunshine at the time, and you had to like go to Mad Taco and buy a ticket, and they had a special Firkin on, and we went there at like 8 o'clock in the morning with our kids. We were camping, Kids are like, why the fuck are we up this early?
I mean,
and it was already sold out. And then to see Sean Lawson and his wife like sitting in the middle of this public park with a farmer's market, and just a line of uber nerds, just like every fat guy with a beard that has way too many gaming stations
just
in their
looking
basement.
up his trade value.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild to see, and that's when I knew I needed, to open a bigger brewery.
Is that what it was?
No, I don't know. I'm just making
Yeah,
shit.
I mean,
at
it
this
is
point,
kinda-
I'm just making shit up.
Well, I do want to kind of like, we'll get back to, all right, I'm going to make a note about line culture and your brewery because you guys are a thing now.
We're not. It's not. The line, I think the line thing's done.
You think so?
Yeah. I think for...
It depends on what you release. I mean...
Okay, so going back to where this whole thing started, if we were going to be a pastry, slushy, whatever, we might have that.
Ooh, I love those beers.
But
Pastry, slushy, whatever's.
Both at the same time. When we first had Mass Riot and people were searching it, we'd have the line. We don't have that anymore, and I got to tell you, I'm fine with it. I'd rather not.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fucking pressure. It's tense. It's because we're a restaurant.
Yeah.
Up until we opened this place, we were a restaurant that had a brewery. People forget that. People hear Prison City and they think the beer. But the reality is a brew pub is a restaurant first that just happens to have a...
People might have been in line for the nachos. You don't know that.
We don't do nachos. It was the poutine. It was the poutine. You didn't do your
Which there's
homework
no
and
good.
read
There's
the
no
menu.
poutine out in Colorado, by the way. Colorado food culture sucks. I miss being in the Northeast for that in
Well,
particular.
it does and it doesn't, man. I've been out there. Denver in particular, Euclid.
Don't give me vague cliche statements like it does or it doesn't.
Where was the other part of Colorado was in? I mean, the Mexican food out there is intense.
It's but it's everywhere.
Way
Everybody
better.
does tacos.
That's fine. Whatever. It's way better than it is here.
I suppose. But what's Auburn known for food-wise?
Poutine.
Poutine. Yeah, that's the upstate New York thing. You're
It's
so close to
a pretty
Canada.
old school blue collar town, and I do remember when we were opening. We've owned 4 restaurants.
Yeah, because
in
you were
this
always
town.
restaurant people.
When we moved here in 2001 from Lake Placid, New York, in 2003, Dawn and her family opened a restaurant called Cascade Grill, which is at the south end of Owasco Lake, and that was just a meat and potatoes joint on the lake. But we, dabbed in craft beer. That was always part of our DNA.
Dabs.
And then
Nice
we
weed
opened,
reference.
and then opened this place called Bistro One that was originally going to be Prison City Brewing.
Okay.
And this was in 2008. And when we were opening, everyone's like, well, you're going to have mozzarella sticks, right? And you're going to do prime rib. And you're going to have white zin? We're like, no.
So basically like every other place on the Finger
Exactly.
Lakes?
Like,
Yeah.
fuck no. Why would we do that? That's boring. We were
Yeah.
trying to we decided we wanted to open a restaurant that we wanted to go to on a Friday or Saturday. It's not a knock on all the restaurants that are in town, but these places...
It is what it is, though.
These places have been around forever.
Yeah, those places. I mean, you're
it
not
was
saying
nothing new.
anything. You're not saying anything rude by just being like, yeah, a lot of these places have been institutions for a long time.
Right.
And they've had a regular fan base for a long time, and they don't do anything that's really pushing the envelope.
They are afraid to do anything different because they fear that their customers aren't coming there for different.
Sure.
And now, unfortunately, and especially with this pandemic thrown involved, they're suffering because they're learning, like, people actually want different.
Yeah.
And when we opened even Prison City, having poutine on the menu, like, we had to spend almost a year explaining what poutine was.
Even
and finally
here?
just throwing our fucking hands up, like, it's just fucking gravy fries with cheese on it, man.
Yeah.
It's really simple.
I mean, it's pretty great, though.
But it's called poutine? It took a minute.
Yeah.
It took a minute.
Sounds like you're
Brussels sprouts with pork belly.
Whoa. Next level.
A good friend of mine, he's a pro at the club I belong to, and when I first mentioned we had pork belly on the menu, he like shook his tongue and blech. And I was like, Chris, do you like bacon?
Yeah.
He's like, I fucking love bacon. I'm like, pork belly.
People are so afraid of things that they haven't heard
like
of or
just
they
different
they
words.
can't pronounce somehow.
Right.
I remember at one point in time I convinced my mom that chorizo was some type of Swedish fish that was like a delicacy that people had to import in. And I rode that train for a long time. I don't know who spilled the beans to her, but yeah. But so you say that you're a restaurant first, but
Yes.
people know you for your beer.
Correct.
And so Mass Riot was the thing that kind of like set the whole deal off.
Yes.
And was that because was it because you guys were ranked number 1 in some
Yes.
magazine, right?
Paste.
Yeah, okay.
It was when Paste would do theirs, and the comedy of that is, my joke to tell is it was the only fucking IPA we had.
Yeah.
That was it, and that's and Don's like, I feel like we had met Jim Farrell, the editor at GABF in 2015. We had just opened, and we won a silver for Belgian Pale Ale. So we had this relationship with Pace Magazine, and they just happened to reach out. And Dawn's really competitive, and she's like, let's just enter it. Let's just enter. Shits and giggles. Let's just see where our beer stacks up.
Yeah, see where it's at.
That was it. And everything that happened after that was a flash and a surprise and unexpected.
Yeah, because it's not up to you, right? Like, you're just doing the thing that you planned on, and then all of a sudden somebody – that's all it takes sometimes is somebody just saying, like, hey, this is really great. It got some recognition in this publication or magazine or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden that's what you're known for. Is that like, how do you feel about that? Like, because I think there's – you guys are, to me, you're personally, like, I know you for making a lot of really good things. Right. So is it strange to kind of just be known for one thing? Is that still the case? Because I know it was a couple of years ago.
It is. To this day, it's still the number one beer. And let's face it, the whole reason that we have this 14,000 square foot facility is because
Mass
of
Riot.
Mass Riot.
Yeah.
And it's because every time it goes on tap, it flies. And people wanted more. And we started to recognize, like, okay, we're actually losing business in a certain degree because of this beer.
Yeah.
Because people aren't driving from Buffalo or Rochester or Syracuse for a crowler or two at a beer we're charging, because we're a small brew pub, we're charging $14 for 32 ounces.
Yeah.
Like, comparatively to what's available out there right now, Wrench from Industrial Arts, like all these beers that are flooding the market, New England IPAs up the ass. And we still couldn't, deliver on the volume that people were looking for. So this isn't the Mass Riot factory, but it's kind of the Mass Riot factory.
It's pretty close. I mean, Jeff had to do
what it is.
Jeff had to do the same thing at Industrial Arts.
Yeah. I mean, and he was not. And I know Jeff, and I know I don't want to put words in his mouth for sure, but I don't think he was expecting Wrench to take.
No, he
off
was
the way
not.
it
I
did.
mean, I wrote an article about it a couple years ago where I asked. The article essentially turned into, what happens to you personally when a beer kind of hijacks your own brewery? Was essentially what I was trying to get at, because he did not open that place with the intention of Wrench becoming this thing. He wanted power tools to be not power tools.
Metric pills.
Yeah, the pills.
Pills.
He wanted their like kind of Pilsner, kind of session ale, whatever.
Right.
It was a hybrid because he's a really great brewer, so he can come up with a new style that people really enjoy.
Yeah.
And he wanted that to be the flagship, and then Wrench took over.
Took off. Yeah.
He actually brewed
to the point where they're doing 12 packs now.
I know.
And so there's two schools of thought there in my head, because this is where I start getting excited about beer. Like, I'm a sales guy. Yeah. And I like analyzing that. Like, there are two schools of thought. You're either going to let the rock roll downhill and just let it collect momentum. Like, you take the snowball at the top of the mountain, right? And you roll it down the hill, and as it rolls, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can run with that route, or you can take this really big rock and push it uphill.
Yeah.
And you have to decide what's more worth it. I watch, Boston Beer with Boston Lager. They're constantly pushing that rock uphill.
I know.
Now they've got Twisted Tea and Truly and, Angry Orchard. Those rocks are all flying downhill. They're still pushing. One brewery I admire the fuck out of is Allagash.
Yeah.
They took their rock, Allagash White, and kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and now that motherfucker's rolling downhill. Like, Allagash White's on fire.
The other metaphor that you could put in there would be that you push the rock downhill and let it go, and then while the rock is rolling downhill and accumulating mass, you just work on other things while you're up at the top of the mountain.
That's the beauty of it.
For them, like, that's how I see it.
Right.
Is that because they come out with so many amazing variants and
Allagash you're talking about?
Yeah, Allagash specifically.
Yeah, and that's the beauty in having
while this rock is
intimate
rolling
relationship
downhill
on the inside.
Yeah.
It's like we make Allagash white. We make the white so that we can do, ghoulship, and we can do all these funky things, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
We're going to brew Mass Riot, and we're going to do all these different beers, but we also want to play. We have fooders, we have a cool ship, we have barrels. Like, we want to do all these cool. Our second more popular beer is Wham Whams, an imperial stout with coconut and vanilla bean. So those are our two horses. So
no cereal,
We're just
though.
going to keep whipping them.
Which is too bad.
But we're going to do cereal beer at the pub.
But I'm gonna do it.
But we're going to do it. And Ben's excited because I think at the pub, we basically have our R&D plant now. We have our little R&D system at the pub.
Yeah,
It's
which
a
is the best research you could
5-barrel
possibly do. But that's only useful for Auburn in certain degrees, right? Because, I know you have plenty of people that are coming here from outside areas, but what's happening at the – I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard because if you're in a isolated rural area and you're using that as your R&D facility,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily speak to what's going to work in large distribution.
Not necessarily, but what we know about our business is 65, maybe percent, maybe more than that, comes from outside of the immediate Auburn area.
Right.
Like our guest count, we know. We've lived in this town for almost 20 years. We know the faces that come in and out. And it was about 3 years ago, Don and I were like, it's Friday. I don't recognize a single goddamn person in this place. Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you? None of them were from, not Auburn, not from Cayuga County.
Yeah. When are you going to run for mayor?
Huh?
When are you going to run for mayor?
Never. Why would I ever want to? Why would I ever want to do
You're just
public
the
service?
unofficial
It is a
mayor.
thankless goddamn job.
really
Everyone's
is.
an idiot. If
Everybody
you
sucks.
serve your country in a political form, you are a fucking moron.
Yeah, you got to have a
It
death
doesn't
wish.
matter.
Yeah.
It's either
no matter what you do.
50% of the people think you're an idiot. No, never.
Not at a brewery, though.
Ever. No.
Everybody loves you.
Well,
Not everybody.
not everybody.
Not everybody.
No.
Actually, before we get too far off the path here, it is Christmas time.
Yeah.
I do want to know a little bit about what is your favorite or least favorite Christmas beer?
My favorite Christmas beer of all time is Old Fezziwig.
Yeah?
Yes.
Sam Adams?
Yes.
It was only available in the mix packs, right?
Exactly.
For the most part?
And I love that beer, and I begged them for years when I was a salesperson
Old
to
Fezziwig.
give me draft.
Yeah, just give me some
because
Sixtals.
I've got Dickens in Skinny Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Dickens character. I'm like, I could sell, 30, 80K. I could sell so much beer.
I could sell Boston's lager amount
And then I could sell so much
of Old Fezziwig.
Fezziwig just in Skinny Atlas. I will take over every bar in town because it's tourist central.
I want you to at least once
And now
a
they
year-
don't even put it in their fucking mix pack. I'm actually kind of pissed off.
Yeah, well,
It
that's-
was not in this year's winter mix pack.
Yeah, that's because you're the old man yelling on his lawn about how there's not Old Fezziwig in the mix pack anymore.
Yeah, I am. I'm yelling at a cloud. I don't care.
Jim Cook got downvoted by Sam Calgione. Apparently, since Sam came on board, he was
So my
like
second favorite Christmas beer is 60-minute IPA.
the best Christmas beer.
I would say Fezziwig is probably, it's just nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not a big Christmas beer guy. I mean,
Winter Warmer's-
Sierra Celebration, obviously.
It's great because it's not a
But
Christmas beer.
that's such a beer bro answer. Like, everyone's like, ooh, celebration.
It is, but it's the reason
I
it's the
still
best.
love it, but it's like, I need to be contrarian.
But the reason it's the best Christmas beer is because it's not a Christmas beer.
I mean, honestly, if I'm given a true answer, the best Christmas beer I've ever had that's ever been released is an homage to the greatest Christmas movie of all time, Die Hard.
Yeah?
And it's available right here at Prison City
the
Brewing
fuck
called
outta here, you
Welcome to the
shill.
Party Pal. Welcome to the Party Pal. A New England style IPA that we dropped, I don't know, like two or three years ago.
Christmas beer.
Yes, it is.
A New England style IPA is
It
not a
is.
Christmas
Fuck
beer.
you. I don't.
Would you put nutmeg in it?
No.
Good, because
No,
that
it's
makes
just
beer
a
terrible.
lot of juicy hops.
It's a lot of juice.
It's not even a Christmas movie, but I don't care. It pisses people off when we say it.
No, Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
I mean, what isn't a Christmas movie?
Anything that makes you feel nostalgic about the holiday is technically a Christmas movie.
Terminator.
Yeah. I'll be back. That's what Santa says every
Point
year.
Break.
Every
Yeah.
time I go down to the living
be-
room,
yeah, I'll be
Santa
back.
says, he turns to me and he says, I'll be
back.
next year.
Jesus Christ.
But
I'm glad
I-
this isn't a whiskey podcast.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
we could turn it into one if you got some here.
I do.
But so I had my first Great Lakes Christmas Ale of the season
okay.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I love that beer. And I
haven't had it in a
I
while.
hate winter warmers. I absolutely cannot stand them. It's one of those old guard kind of styles that's
Yes.
like an amber.
Yeah.
It's an amber with nutmeg. and
Very,
cinnamon.
very safe beer. I don't know where the style came from. I didn't invent it. I don't care. But
The original pastry beer. The
Honestly, if you
original,
think about it,
yeah, just
yeah.
jamming nutmeg and
just
cinnamon
put
and
adjuncts
clove
and everything.
Yeah, just throw a bunch of stuff in there. What's your least favorite beer style?
my least favorite beer style?
Yeah.
Woof. I mean, gun to my head. I don't know, man. I mean, there's not really a beer style that I look at. I'll say this, and this is going to sound really kind of weird given the brewery that we operate and some of the beers we're known for.
New England IPAs.
I hate New England style IPAs. I mean, I wish everything was just clean, adjunct free, Reinheitsgebot. No, I like sours.
Yeah.
but I'm a volume drinker. Mm-hmm. You know, I am. I like to pound beers. My physique obviously presents that.
Yeah.
I
slender
dig
build.
sours, but what I don't enjoy about them is like you can only drink so much of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think your esophagus.
You give me an
literally can't
ESB, I
handle
can
it.
pound a 12-pack. You give me a Pilsner, I can pound it.
Yeah.
You give me IPAs, give me stouts, whatever. I can just drink them in mass. And sours, it's like, all right, that was a nice, as far as an intermezzo goes.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm drinking them and it's like, oh, it's a palate cleanser and stuff. And then if you drink too much of it, you're just left with heartburn. And you have to eat a bunch of Tums, and so.
Well, with sours,
I would say it's my least favorite style, but it's not that I hate on it. It's just it's the one I drink.
it's when
the
you can
least
consume
amount
the
of.
least. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do kettle sours as much anymore because if I'm gonna go sour, I want it to be the real deal. I want funk. I want a little bit more acidity. I want some complexity there.
Right.
I struggle with having more than one of a kettle sour now.
So, and I don't know if they kettle sour or not. I believe they do.
Just
and
call
again,
them out
I don't
for it.
want to put words in anybody's mouth, but Thin Man's Mickey Boodle, their raspberry sour, I believe is a kettle sour. That
I would
drinks
think so,
phenomenal. And Confliction from Sloop is another great example of a kettle sour that I think you can drink in volume. But it's just, I guess, like I said, gun to my head, sours.
Yeah. We'll ask Schatzel. I'll message him and just be like, "Hey, is Mickey Doodle a kettle sour?"
Please don't ask him. He'll just punch me into the ground.
Why?
He's 9 foot tall.
He's a big man.
He's a large individual.
But I love Mike. And I used to work for him. I used to work
is that
at
right?
Blue Monk, yeah.
Oh, no shit. I didn't know
I miss that place.
Everyone misses that place.
I know.
But I feel like I've told him this. I think he dodged a bullet.
He did.
Because he hit that whole Belgian sweep right at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, outside of like some really uber beer nerds right now, I don't think you're filling a place with Belgian beers right now.
No, but they really weren't.
Belgian
Like it was
style.
They had 32 taps and I'd say 1 through 8 were traditionally Belgian,
Yes.
but then eventually it
it was
just
still
became
IPAs
American
and everything else. But I mean, you can't be a Belgian style beer bar with just 8 lines. I remember Yorton from the Blue Tusk when he had this, not the Spoiten Deuvel, that's down in the city. The fuck did he had a little side shoot to the Blue Tusk? There was a Belgian beer bar, and he was almost like 3 or 4 years ahead of his time.
Uh-huh.
And that didn't work, and he ultimately closed it down. And then Schatzel opens his place in Buffalo, and it takes off like gangbusters. But I don't know. I don't want
Buffalo was always more of a
big fan of not putting words in anybody's mouth, but Mike
can tell.
Schatzel does not need more bars and restaurants.
No,
he's doing
he's
just
got plenty.
fine.
He seems like he's juggling a lot. But what I will say, I think Buffalo has a more developed beer scene than Syracuse and always had.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So-
I don't know if always had, but it helps when you have, and I won't mention him by name, but there's a gentleman that runs a beer publication, was running around the Midwest and pirating in kegs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And another operator of a calzone joint, 2 of them, in fact. He hates it when I call them calzones. And they were pouring beers from the Midwest that weren't registered or anything. And so I understand there were a big reason behind that.
Yeah.
I
mean,
think
they're a
Buffalo
catalyst
is
for
definitely.
bootlegging.
It also helps when you've got, 1 million more people than, say, Onondaga County does.
No, it does, but I always was. When it came to the craft beer scene in Syracuse, there was a couple bars that seemed to be the strongholds for craft beer. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was always judging an area by
I think anytime,
your average bar.
Time out.
So your
I don't
average
know who
bar.
the guy is on Twitter, but there's a guy that's on Twitter, and he gets he does these little bits. And anytime I hear somebody say "for me," he says it "for me," and every time I fucking hear it, it slaps. Like so, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. This is your show.
Every
This is where you
time I hear someone say "for me," I want them to say it like
For
this guy just. And I wish I
me?
knew exactly. And I wish I knew his Twitter handle.
okay, we'll be able to
because
find
it
it.
fucking slaps every time. So every time I hear someone say "for me," like "for me," like
great.
this is all about me and my world. Anyway,
You're good.
I digress.
It was always a craft beer scene is dictated by what's the craft selection at your average bar, not your best bar.
Yeah.
Because they get it. Yeah, your 2 best craft bars in the area, they have a great selection. But what does everybody else have? That kind of dictated it for me.
I mean, there was nothing. I mean, Syracuse 2002 It was, I hate even bringing them up because I hate them. McGregor's and the Blue Tusk. And
what
then
happened with
Clark's Ale House.
What happened with McGregor's?
A lot.
Yeah.
I just
a bad buyer or what?
Listen, I've been selling beer in upstate New York since 2001, and there are people I really enjoyed doing business with,
course.
and there was a very simpatico relationship. Like, legitimately, we're trying to do well.
You
for
get
each
it,
other.
I get it.
And then there were
We're
people
working
that were
together.
just fucking assholes.
Yeah.
And they frankly fall in that category.
What were? Oh man, actually, okay. So this.
So I just opened that can of worms.
Yes, because I wanted
Not
to
that
get.
anyone's going to ever hear this,
I
Korey,
wanted
but
to
whatever.
get. I wanted to get into the sales side of things, but do you want to open up the Imperial Stout?
Oh, sure.
And we
Yeah,
can talk
yeah,
about that
No,
for a
see,
second.
It's amazing when your glass runs out. All of a sudden, we need more beer.
I'm pretty sure your glass ran out before mine did, partner.
Well, I had to chug it.
I also chugged a beer. I was
Then
here
you
the whole
chugged
time.
it- then you chugged your second one.
You're only about an ounce
I think
behind me.
I don't even think this podcast is real. I think you're just here for free beer.
I am. But speaking of sales and talking to accounts, somebody that worked under you for a little bit of time while I was at Harpoon was Katie Crudell.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Katie so much, and I miss covering. She covered the Ithaca area for a while, and now she's with Dogfish Head, right? Is she still with Dogfish Head?
She's with the whole Boston Beer umbrella.
Yeah,
So
okay.
she left. She worked for me at TJ Sheehan as a sales rep down in Ithaca, and then left to go be a regional rep for Dogfish Head, and is now subsequently under the whole umbrella. She's selling everything.
Fair enough. I loved, because Ithaca is such a cool town.
Oh, yeah, for
I
sure.
loved going into town, meeting up with Katie, and then hitting accounts all day.
Yeah.
There were many a times that Katie and I would, the first thing we would do, I'd meet up with her. I'd be like, what do you want to do? She's like, I don't know. Do you want to go get lunch?
Yes.
And that was the best.
Sales rep life. Let's just go eat lunch and
Let's
get
just
drunk
go
all
have
day.
some lunch.
Yeah.
What were your... So Mark was on the sales side of things for a long time. That's how we know each other. What was your best work with and worst work with? What were the things that would happen? And a work with is somebody like a supplier rep comes into
Right,
town.
so,
they work with the distributor rep
Yes.
or the manager,
Yes.
and you high spot accounts mostly for the day, or you just work with the rep and just ride their route with them for the day. So yeah, what was the stuff that you liked the most, and what was the stuff you hated the most?
I consider myself very tenacious. Like, I am really passionate about sales. I'm very competitive. I'm very tenacious. So my best work with, ride with, whatever you want to call them, were the people that wanted to get shit done.
Just fucking get after
Let's
it.
go get fucking draft lines. Let's go get displays. Let's do it. And the worst were, we're going to go over to this place that's never going to buy your beer and have lunch because you have a corporate card and you're going to spend money and I don't have to do things.
Oh, you don't want a nice steak?
I mean, being in a Red Lobster at 1 o'clock in the
Red
afternoon.
Lobster? You don't
just
like
to
Red
have
Lobster?
Cheese biscuits with this guy that's 90 years old still selling beer.
That's the
I
hottest
was like,
take.
This is a waste of my fucking
That's the
time.
hottest take you've had on this show so far, is that you don't want to go to Red Lobster.
Fuck Red Lobster. Fuck chains.
It's true.
I hate them.
I know. I agree. So yeah, you want to, when you're on a call or when you're on a ride with, you want to like get after it. Sell some kegs.
I'm being paid
put
to
in
get
some
shit done.
displays.
Right.
Get some stacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to, at the end of the month, a big thing for me was, right, there it is again. I want to, when my manager is putting up, the sales record at the end of the day, I want to be at the fucking top.
Yeah.
I want my name up there. And it's a total Ricky Bobby thing for me. If I'm not first, I'm last. If I'm in second or third, it's like, fuck you, I got to work harder. And I'm not even going to lie, it separated me from the pack early.
Yeah.
I don't have a college education. I'm not a very bright guy, but I worked my dick off, and I out-hustled everybody.
I have never considered you a bright guy, but I've always thought that you were.
No one has. I've never
I've
been
always thought you were
accused of
great.
asking good questions or anything. But I work my dick off.
You win them over with charm.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand about the sales game, especially when it comes to beer, is that you have some of your own accounts that are just, they're your accounts because they like you a lot.
Right. One of my favorite stories was I remember being in the Ginger Man down in New York City.
Yep.
And we were down there. I had some sales guys from Sheehan and Wright Wisner out of Rochester, and we were in the Ginger Man, and I asked what they had on tap. They gave me a list, and I'm like, no Sam Adams, because I'm not even in my own market, but I'm selling.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we don't like mass-produced beer. I'm like, so explain the Yingling line. They're bigger than Boston Beer is.
Of course.
And she immediately is like, oh, you work for Boston Beer? And I kind of got thrown out.
Yeah.
Not kind of. I got thrown out.
You definitely got thrown out.
And then went to a bodega around the corner and started crushing Bud Heavies in a brown paper bag. Because, I'm a hypocrite. Fast forward, I'm at a meeting. I think it was in Vegas. And my regional manager and the sales manager for New York City is like, we finally figured it out. It was fucking you. Like, we're never allowed in the Ginger Man again. You got us thrown out. I was like, well, you weren't in there to begin with.
Yeah.
And the guy was the one guy, Jay, I think his name was so upset. He's like, what's your number one bar? What's your number one on-premise account in Syracuse? I'm going in there and getting you thrown out. And I was like, honey, you couldn't get me thrown out of my best account if you fucking tried.
And what was it?
The Blue Tusk.
Yeah, of course.
It had 3 lines in there.
Yeah, it was Tusk.
I was like, go into the Blue Tusk and try and get me thrown out. The better people than you have tried.
Yeah.
Every sales rep would come in like, what has Sam Adams done for you
What's
lately?
with all the Sam Adams lines? Yeah.
And one of the best compliments
probably gotta
I
be the
ever
most
got
rockin'
was
cherry
the
weed
staff-
accountant.
The staff at the Blue Tusk was like, you mean you want to knock off Schultz's lines?
Yeah, no thanks.
That was the best compliment I've ever gotten in my life.
Yeah.
As far as sales go. Like, you can't touch those.
Because
and
people-
they're still there.
Yeah.
And actually, I can't even take credit for it. It was a woman, there was a rep before me. I just maintained them. But
Sure.
yeah, but that's kind of how.
But that's still hard
my
to do
approach.
in a
And
place
you know
like
what-
that.
You know what kills me is, all right, so now you've got the hot button, right?
Get it going.
This is what drives me nuts about salespeople is they're fucking inherently lazy. No one wants to work for it. No one hustles. They just feel like I'm in beer sales. I just show up. I throw my credit card down. I say hi. I give a high five. Ask for the fucking sale.
You got a couple examples
do
of
the
like
work.
whatever it is you want to push.
Do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing that always was annoying to me from a sales perspective was you'd go to an account and you'd just be spending some quality time with the. Sometimes you don't have that time. Sometimes
Right.
you got to like, hey, we got a new beer out. This is the sample. I have a relationship with you. I'm just going to drop this off because I know you're busy as well.
Right.
And I don't want to get in
enough.
the way of that.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm just going to peace out. And then there were other times I'm like, I'm having lunch or I'm having a beer here, just quality time. And another rep would come in with a distributor person and they'd just have like 2 bottles propped up on the counter. And it was, this is why you need this beer.
Right.
As opposed to, hey, what is it you're looking for right now? What do you need?
Yeah.
And then asking those questions and figuring out what is it that this account actually wants.
If you're not genuinely interested in helping the retailer grow their business with your product, you're dead in the water. And if you're not coming across that way, like my product can help your business, we can help each other, whatever it is, you're dead in the water. If you just come across as, I hated this fucking line and I still hate it to this day, do me a favor. And I used to tell my sales staff, if I ever hear you fucking say those words, you're gone. Don't ever use the favor. Because a favor's not doing anybody any good. Yes, we need to move product, but do me a favor? How's a retailer win from that?
That's super lazy. It's really
so
lazy.
lazy.
And it also devalues the use of a favor.
Yeah.
To be completely honest.
Oh,
Because-
it's sat for a month, and now you're back asking for another favor.
Yeah.
I mean, you can really only play that card once or twice.
Well, you got to be
then
able
you
to
lose all credibility.
Yeah, because you have your own motivations, and then the account itself has their motivations. If you're not willing to meet in the middle a little bit and at least explain yourself and why this is going to work, or have their back. That was the other thing too. Is that what always pissed me off was that the supplier would never have the account's back. Like if I had, there were situations where I would be, and this is sales nerding out a little bit, but you're overstocked on 12 packs on a seasonal.
Sure.
3 weeks out before when it's supposed to go. Okay. Right. So then you sell that sell 10Ks, 20K stacks into all the accounts that you can and say, hey, if you are stuck with this 2 months from now,
right,
I'll help you buy it back.
Sure.
And just saying stuff like that, I think goes a long way as opposed to just like hanging people
right,
and forcing them to deal with it.
And it's so funny because I think about it, like the retailer has never really needed a supplier or anybody. They just kind of figured out like what sells, what doesn't. And now what's really interesting is the retailer really needs a lot of suppliers.
Yeah.
Right? You need certain breweries to keep people coming through your door.
Yeah.
It's like a total flip. Like, all right.
Yeah, but they want.
How do I get your
specific
beer?
brands. Yeah.
How do I get your beer?
But one thing that's unique
Weird.
about
It's a total weird flip.
one thing about this area that is very unique is that Wegmans owns the off-premise. The beer store and the beverage center
Yes.
thing is just not a thing here.
It depends.
It
Like
is.
they've definitely gotten a lot smarter, and I applaud them because they've gotten a lot more nimble in making sure that they're bringing in the beers that were traditionally at, mom and pops that were quick on their feet and more in tune with the beer scene, and not just meeting with big brewers and big beer distributor reps.
Yeah, I'm impressed and also disheartened by the beer selection at Wegmans sometimes because there's some shit that does not belong here.
It's a little too much, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I
just
applaud them for what they did years ago with expanding and doing these big beer aisles, and I thought it was brilliant at the time. But now I feel like, there is such a thing as too much variety.
the grocery store, to me, they should be looking for the hits. Yeah, you can get as much diversity as you want from all these
volume.
different suppliers,
Right,
but
go volume.
they're a volume game.
Right.
You
if you
shouldn't.
look at all their other aisles, it's like their brand,
Yeah.
and then it's like their soup brand, and then Campbell's and Progresso, and then some niche like organic.
Who do you think's gonna
we
make?
need the hippies to buy
Who do you
our
think's
stuff.
gonna make Wegmans' first contract beer?
Oh, I think they've already had some contract beers.
Oh, have they?
I feel like they have.
Okay, I don't know
Yeah.
that.
Well, and I shouldn't say contract beers, but I know they've had some exclusives. And I'm not going to name breweries because some of them are New York State brethren, and I'll never shit on anybody for.
We don't have to shit on
You know,
anybody.
getting
I mean,
a
but if
nut,
Genesee
but-
makes a contract beer for Wegmans, that
Yeah,
would be
I
a
think
high
that's gonna
suspect.
happen.
Yeah, that would be a high suspect.
And I think it would have happened a little bit more had the pandemic not hit. Unfortunate circumstances. They were expanding their bars and restaurants in there.
Yeah.
Their burger bars, and they were having shit on draft. And I think they probably would have gotten into more of the contract game had that continued.
Yeah, probably.
But
What are we drinking right now?
Wham Whams.
Wham Whams.
Yes. So
Tell
this
me
is
more
our
about it.
Imperial Stout.
Is there coconut in here?
There is toasted
Coconut and
We-
cacao?
Nope. Just house toasted coconut. We get big flakes. We toast them in our oven. That's here on site. And then Madagascar and Tahitian vanilla bean.
It's super good.
It's another beer that took off, and a big reason why we're sitting in this space, which is the barrel room, because while this is the Mass Riot Factory, this might as well be called the Wham Whams room. Because we've got about a dozen Four Roses barrels over there that a batch of this beer is about to go into and sit for 6 to 8 months before it gets packaged, and we're going to continue to get more bourbon barrels.
That's awesome.
Every time we do a bourbon
Is there
barrel,
enough? Are there enough distilleries in the area that you're getting bourbon barrels from, or is it mostly from bigger
from
companies?
outside?
Yeah,
Like we
okay.
got the Four Roses. We've done Willet. We've done Basil Hayden's. I'm sure there's one or two I'm missing, but because at the pub it was only a small volume of beer, we've only needed like 255, gallon barrels. But now we're expanding. Like all these racks that are over here are going to fit on this wall, in that entire wall, and they'll just be filled with Wham Whams over time.
Damn. That's
So
impressive.
the bourbon barrel aged version of this is intense.
I mean, it's really great. It's not overly sweet, and it's not too heavy either. That's one of the things that you run into. I mean, stouts have always been heavier beers, obviously. But one of my biggest problems that I've had with stouts that I've had recently is you can legitimately only have about 4 ounces of it. And that's probably because pastry stouts are so big in Colorado that they're so sweet. It's so heavy.
I
because
have
of
a
all the
request for all
adjuncts.
your Colorado breweries need to just call it New England style IPA already.
They do not want it.
No, they don't.
Do
I
not
remember
want
being
it.
at GABF 2 years ago and being at, it wasn't Avery.
Wasn't Weld. I mean, how
No,
big,
it wasn't
how big was the brewery?
Weldworks. It was
So
another.
Odell, was it
Great
Belgian?
Divide. Great Divide.
Yeah, okay.
And we went into the room and it said hazy IPA, and I said, "I'll have your New England style IPA," and the bartender's like, "What?" I'm like, "I'll have your New England
There
style
is
IPA."
such a reluctance to do that, but they don't.
Broncos
have
suck now, and Tom Brady's moved on. Get
Fuck
over
'em.
it.
But they don't have that reservation with West Coast,
Right.
which is so stupid. It's like I get it that it's newer, so you're still willing to embrace that vernacular,
Yeah.
but it is theirs. Like, it is very much this region
Yes.
that made this a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember Nick Matt being at our Brewers conference for New York State.
And Nick Matt
he's
is
like owner of Matt's Brewing, Utica Club, and
Yep.
Saranac, and saying if we only had the foresight and had called it a New York IPA
Right.
at the time, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It would have been a game changer
like
for
making it that
hours.
designation.
But it's okay. You can still call it Northeast. Like, that's what
Northeast
Wrench
New
is.
England?
Wrench is a Northeast IPA.
Yeah,
It's
but
not a New
still,
England.
because upstate New York technically isn't New England, right? Like, it bleeds into it a little bit, but it's not.
Such a mishmash. They're all Bills and Jets fans, but there's such a contingency of Red Sox fans up here. It's
I
just
know.
like it's just like
It is a mix.
hybrid.
So let me ask you this, because I don't typically love hazy IPAs. I'm
Yeah.
a West Coast guy
Right.
through and through. What I typically don't like is like the cloyingness and chalkiness of a lot of hazy IPAs.
Yeah.
Which I don't get with Mass Riot.
Yeah.
You get it's really clean. It's a lot of pineapple.
Yep.
I don't get a lot of bitterness to it. It's a pretty sweet,
Yes.
clean beer.
Yeah.
For being hazy. What is something that you think people fuck up when they make hazy IPAs? Because for me personally,
For me? All right. See,
There's-
I like it.
there is a very clear divide between the people that are just doing it okay and the people that are doing it really well.
I don't know. I'm not a brewer, so
You're the sales
can't-
guy, but you've tasted enough things.
But I have had a lot of New England style IPAs that really miss the mark, and some of it is hop selection and being small, so you're just playing with whatever hops you can get.
Yeah.
And maybe you're using older hops or just hops that aren't meant for the style. Mm-hmm. You know, we're in New York State, and we've got this farm brewer's license thing that floats around. Everyone's like, oh, you must use a lot of New York State hops. Not really, because
no.
a lot of those hops, it's not a knock on the hops. There's great hops that come out of here, but they're more meant for Pilsner and lager style beers.
Yeah.
Not necessarily New England style IPAs.
And I remember talking to the guys at Indian Ladder about it at one point in time, and they're awesome people.
Yeah.
They make great beer, and they have
Veltman, right?
Yeah,
Scotty?
it's Veltman, and
It's another
they-
dirty little hippie.
yeah, he's the best. They have a cool hop farm there, but the issue that they're running into is that most of the varieties that they grow are varieties that are done better elsewhere. Citra, Cascade, things
Yeah,
like
right.
that, Centennial.
Right.
Like, these hop varieties they do them the best in the world in other regions of the country. New York State, and especially with Cornell being an agricultural school,
Yeah.
they need to invest more time and resources into making New York State proprietary blends. Not
And
blends,
you
but
can,
strains.
and that's what Oregon's been doing, whether it's university driven or not.
Yeah.
I know, like New York State, back when I worked at Ithaca Beer, like Cascade from Peterson Farms was always great.
Mm-hmm.
That was outdoor ale, and we would make a really nice kind of single hop West Coast style wet hop beer. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, like if
you're
you
just
look
making
at
you're making a lesser Cascade.
yes,
Is essentially all you're doing.
and that can be used in a particular style. But if you look at the growing latitude that we're on, we're right in line with like Germany and Czech Republic. So we're going to grow. Our terroir is similar in the sense like
Whoa,
that's what. Yeah,
terroir.
I've used a big word. I use it correctly.
so proud
but
of you.
There's a reason why our Riesling wines are so great in Finger Lakes, because we're in the same like growing latitude. Like we have the
Yeah.
same kind of growing environment. And if you look at the hops that we used to grow when New York State was the second largest hop growing, community in the country,
Yeah.
it was lager type hops that German brewers and German style beers were making. I don't think we can make. That being said, our Riot in 29, we use Centennial hops from Chimney Bluff's Hoppery. And it gives this beer just a really nice hop bite to it. So that's
Yeah.
the first New England style IPA. I'm contradicting myself in a sense. It's the first New England style IPA that we've brewed using New York State hops.
Okay. So we were talking about what is it that hazy IPA makers do that you don't particularly like?
What do they do that I don't like?
Because you guys, I hate to say it, but you I don't hate to say it, but because it's one of my least favorite styles, it's clean. Like your guys' beers are clean. It has a bright citrus flavor. It doesn't have that like super chalky flavor to it, or
I
super chalky
guess
mouthfeel.
I don't really hate on anything, but if there was one thing I'd say like that would bother me is like not understanding the style, and trying to use and like contrive things that don't belong, in the beer. Like you're making these hazy IPAs are meant to be juicy, tropical. Like the one thing that's nice about these beers is that it's opened a world of IPA to people that traditionally didn't like IPAs because of the bitterness. That traditional piney grapefruit flavor is now you've got these flavors that they might tend to like, which is these fruity, tropical, mango, pineapple notes that are a little bit more friendly.
It's approachable.
Yes. So I can't, I don't really
I miss
hate
the
on
dankness, Mark. I miss the dankness. I
thought I did, but there are certain New England style IPAs that I think you can still find the dankness in. I don't think they're all like just sugar bombs. Mm-hmm. But that's if you use the right hops and you use them well and you make the beers the right way.
Yeah. All right. Well, I love your guys' brewery. I'm such a fan of what you do here, but unfortunately, some people are not. So that's why we're going to get into bad reviews.
Let's go.
Very Jimmy Kimmel.
Yep.
A la
Total
mean
rip-off,
tweets.
but that's fine.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's all right. That's all what comedy is, right?
Just like
Stealing people's jokes.
Yeah, I mean, you stole this recipe from somebody
exactly.
else. Yeah. You didn't invent hazy IPAs. You did invent adjunct stouts. We already gave you credit for that.
We did
for cereal stouts.
Cereal beers. We didn't even invent them. Keegan Ailes did.
All right.
But no, actually, a lot of our recipes are just rip-offs.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Riot in Maine, rip-off. Riot in Vermont, rip-off. Riot in Mass, rip-off.
Were they clones? Are they clones?
Yeah.
From what?
Our Riot in Vermont is our kind of interpretation of Focal Banger.
Okay.
Riot in Maine is our interpretation of Swish from Bissell Brothers.
Oh, all right.
We do Riot in Santa Rosa, which is our homage to Pliny.
Okay, I like that. I mean,
I don't know.
I can appreciate. Which one is that?
I don't know.
The homage to it was
Pliny.
the Riot in
Santa Rosa.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I dig that. The one in the Bissell one, it's admirable of you for wanting to make a not great beer. That's really nice. Fine, it's fair. All right, this is a Google review. It is
Yes.
1 star.
Perfect.
Menu is small and limited. ... Everything has seasonings on it. Some like things plain. Wish they had more, all caps, to choose from.
Well, what the fuck do you want?
Why aren't you
Which is
catering
it?
to plain people?
But wish we had more. So
More
make up
plain
your,
things,
Make up your
Mark.
fucking mind. Do you want more or do you want less?
They want more plain things.
I don't care. Fuck
Why
off.
don't you
What's
want...
your name? Karen? It's probably
Yeah.
Karen.
It's Mr. and Mrs. G. They have a joint Google review account.
Awesome. Congratulations,
Mr.
Mr. and Mrs. G.
Now,
Cheers.
when you go... All right, so to segue to what you have at the pub, what is it... Are you guys going for any particular food menu at the pub?
At the pub? No,
Yeah.
I mean, we're a burger joint at the end of the day at the pub. I mean, we always were going to be... We wanted to do kind of... I hate this term, but elevated pub food, gastro pub, whatever it is. We're
Better.
a burger
Just
burger
better.
joint.
Yeah.
We're just a burger joint. And we have poutine and chicken wings
With
and
small,
pierogies and
limited
in
seasonings.
over-seasoned.
Do you want to...
Make your steamed broccoli and spaghetti at home. I don't know. What am I supposed to say?
Do you
to
want
that?
a Google review or do you want an Untapped review?
I don't care.
Which one do you want?
All of them.
Okay, so
I love negative reviews.
this one's for light
Makes me
sense.
stronger. I feed on your tears. It's like being it's like being a Patriots fan and listening to haters. I love it. I feed on it.
And for what it's worth, the Google reviews for this brewery are at 4.8 stars, and then the Untapped reviews are about the same.
Yeah.
The reason we do this with brewers is because we usually have people on the show that are very highly rated, so anything that's under par should kind of gloss over you. It shouldn't affect it too much.
Oh, no, it affects me.
Of course. Well, it's like comedy.
I will now go and review our menu and find out what we have over-seasoned and how we can get more plain. No joke. I will.
Here's the deal, is that comedy is the exact same way where if I'm having a killer show and there's one guy in the front that has his arms crossed and he's not having a good time,
I'm stressed over that
that's
guy.
the one person that I'm
it.
actually thinking about the whole time.
I get it.
Yeah.
I do.
All right, so this one is Light Sentence on Untapped. Do you know that one?
Light Sentence. I don't even remember that
LITE sentence.
beer. Yeah.
It is a lager, American Light.
Yeah.
Got
Okay.
2 stars on
Yep.
Untapped. 2 out of
Yep.
5. Can you just read the review for me?
Light Sentence from Joe and Ashley C. Another joint account, by the
What's
way.
all these cucks?
So for me, it was too light. Wow, worse than Coors.
Worse than Coors. How do you feel about that?
Oh, but then Joe Roosh, because I know his symbol. That's Joe Roosh.
That's Joe Roosh, famous Joe
Roosh
Roosh.
bomb found this guy in the back of the fridge. Held up, noise. Fucking no stars, Joe. What the fuck?
Didn't give any stars?
Yeah,
No
whatever.
reviews.
I mean,
So why are you making a beer that's worse than Coors?
that was the whole idea.
That was kind of the point.
So Light Sentence was the precursor to Crispy Boys, where Ben had brewed an American-style light lager. And then what happened is we went to the Craft Brewers Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. Right? Yeah, Nashville, Tennessee, and we got a bunch of free hop samples, and we came back and made a 5-barrel batch with 8 ounces of hops that we got as free samples. And that became Crispy Boys. Yeah, that is. And Crispy Boys was
Is
actually...
Crispy Boys a beer that's taken off for you guys?
Yeah, to a degree. And
Hell
it was
yeah.
actually a beer... The beer was named by Mike Sagona from the Thirsty Pug. I didn't know what a Crispy Boy was until he turned me on to it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's basically...
man. Get that light, dry.
Yeah,
crisp.
it's cargo shorts, it's Hawaiian shirts, it's white socks and white sneakers,
Throwing up
mowing
the
lawn.
cowabunga, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just crushing light lagers, bro.
Yep.
And we've had some fun with it. We did an orange version. We've done a lime version. Whatever.
That's fun. We got another Untapped one for you. This one's from Dustin S. for Sunshine of My Love, which is a
Okay.
cream ale.
Yep.
It's 3.5
Yeah.
out of 5 on Untapped, which
So
isn't
what's
bad.
wrong with that?
And it says, I taste cucumbers. Is my mouth broken?
Yes.
Well, he should ask his girlfriend that, first and foremost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoosh. I'm not
Sure
touching
she's
that one.
missing something.
But, fuck, it's been so long since we've made that beer that I wouldn't even know. I mean, it's literally been, I think, 2 to 3 years since we've made that beer.
But it was a cream ale.
It was a cream ale.
It's a cream ale, which
Yes.
is very...
So do you
indigenous
understand
to
the name
region.
reference, like Sunshine of My Love, as a cream ale? Do you even get it? You're probably too young
It's a
to.
band cream?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That was an
this-
easy one, even
all
if
right.
I didn't know it that well.
I was
You
going to
could
say, a lot of
probably-
people didn't get it.
Sunshine of My Love. Because somebody else said, and 2.75 stars for the same beer, Sunshine of My Love. As I said on Saturday, so he clearly made a big stink out of it.
Oh,
when
he
was
did.
at
Yeah,
the
I
pub.
remember this guy's name.
It's a cream ale. Nothing special.
Oh, we specialize in nothing special.
Well, what the fuck? I mean, it's cream ale, first and foremost, so I get it. But to the second degree, this is the only area of the country where cream ale matters
True.
at all.
True.
So who the fuck are you to shit on cream ale?
Evidently, what's his name?
Nick R.
Nick R. Douchey McDouchebag.
Mrs. Douchey Nick.
I don't know. I mean, we get that a lot. Like, I remember very vividly going back to Crispy Boys. We did a version, and we did dose it with orange.
Dose it.
We dosed it with
I love
orange.
your hippie vernacular.
Yeah, dosed it.
So good.
And I remember
With a
a
whole
very
hit of orange.
specific. I love these beer groups. I have a love-hate relationship with beer groups.
Yeah.
And one guy's like, I don't understand why you dedicate a whole fucking fermenter to an adjunct beer. And I was like, dickhead, we brewed the lager and then we just dosed a keg for a friend down the road.
Yeah.
And he was like adamantly upset about the fact that we dedicated a whole fermenter to an adjunct lager. It's like, just fucking get over yourself. That's my kind of take on everybody on the internet that has opinions about pretty much everything. Get the fuck over yourself. It's just beer. You don't
Yeah.
like it? Move on.
I know. It's just strange.
Why didn't you just brew more hazy?
It's strange how people feel like their opinion really matters a lot.
It
And,
really matters, but for me, it doesn't.
But then they also, the fact that they're willing to go online and post a terrible review about somebody and hurt their business is wild.
Does that
It's
say
crazy.
more about me or about you?
But
You know what I mean?
Shelley Bullock, 1-star review on Google, says, didn't hate it, never got there. Drove from Canandaigua only to find out you had to pay to park. Would have been a helpful hint on the website, 4 exclamation points. So you got 1 star.
I remember that one
And you
succinctly.
and they didn't even come.
No, they drove all the way here from Canandaigua to find out they had to pay for parking and then turned around and left.
How much could parking possibly cost?
$1.
And they drove home.
And they turned around and drove all the way. So they drove from 40 minutes from Canandaigua to Auburn, New York, to find out they had to pay for parking, and were so upset they drove 40 minutes back and probably went through a fucking drive-through and spent $16 on shit-ass food.
Fucking Shelly, this is a you problem.
I'm not picking
this
on
is
her.
a you problem.
You know what reviews bother me the most, have bothered me the most, is the reviews we've gotten from people in the area. And I see you dropping your kids off at school the next day as I'm dropping my kids off at school the next day, and you don't know who I am, but I know who you are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bitch, if I showed up at your place, why don't I just go leave a bad review about how awful you are at your job? Listen, here's the thing.
Listen, you're a bad dental hygienist, Carol.
I have had this whole opinion that this review culture, TripAdvisor, Yelp, can all go fuck itself for a long time because it only exists with, like, hospitality.
Yeah.
No one's going to go review Lowe's because they didn't get attention. And you know what? If they did get a bad review, no one gives a fuck.
Sure.
They're still going to Lowe's.
Because you still need
But
the
if
you still need the 2x4s.
Like, there are legit people, and Don and I get in this argument all the time. Like, there are legit people that are coming to our area because we are in a tourist area, and they're going to look at reviews and be like, ooh, it's a long wait.
I know.
Ooh, they don't take reservation. Or, ooh, I have to pay for parking. And it does affect our business.
Yeah.
So I would say, and you know what? I never really had a problem with it until about midway through this pandemic when we started getting some bad reviews. And I was like, now's not the time, Karen.
This is the worst time.
And I hate using that term, Karen. I do hate it, but I've run into several of them, male and female. That it's like, right now, really? I mean, people lost their patience really fast. Everyone was really understanding at the beginning of what COVID and what we're going through. But people started showing their true colors, and it's just like, come on, man, what are we doing?
No, I get it.
What satisfaction do you get out of your life by leaving me a bad review?
Well, I saw some on here that
better?
were from 6 months ago where they were complaining about wait time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how clueless do you have to be?
People don't care.
They don't.
They just
Still,
don't.
it's their,
And it's all good.
It's their life, right?
We at the end of the day, Korey, we know what Don and I, what our standards are and what we expect out of our staff and what we deliver from service to product to everything.
Yeah.
But I have a news flash for all human beings. There is no such thing as perfection.
Correct.
We strive for it. We work for it every day. But I don't care who you are, where you're from, whatever you do for a living. Nobody's fucking perfect. Not even Tom Brady. God. He's God. He's not perfect.
That's a lie.
If Tom Brady's not
That's
fucking
a
perfect,
goddamn lie,
if Tom
Mark
Brady's
Schultz.
not perfect, nobody can be perfect.
Actually, you know what? I can't even believe I just said that. Go fucking Bills. They just won their first AFC East
in 25 years.
In 25 years.
25 years.
So very excited.
Congratulations. I'm very excited.
We're all very thrilled.
I'm legit
Are you brewing
excited.
a beer for it?
No, fuck no. Every
You
brewery
should.
in Buffalo's doing it. Why would I do it?
Because
you know what we're going to do is we're going to
American
broadcast the game outside.
Hell yeah.
I'm getting on a call after I'm done with you.
Fuck yeah.
Whenever you fucking decide to leave me alone.
Sorry.
And we're getting a portable screen outside. I'm going to broadcast the games. I'm excited for Bills fans. I love it. I love seeing it. I'm a Red Sox fan. I know what misery looks like. I know how it feels. I know what hope looks like. You know, I know what getting so close you can taste it.
Side of the star.
You know, and I also know disappointment. So by putting large screens outside and watching Bills fans be here, I either get to see them elated and it will bring me joy, or I get to see them eat a whole bag of dicks, and that will bring me joy.
Before it's pretty good.
How's that?
Did you just
That's my joke.
Did you just black out and
That's
come
it.
to? Yeah, you never told your joke, right?
And that's how you debate.
Did you ever tell your joke?
No.
Yeah, that happens
Knock,
on the
knock.
show a lot. What's your joke?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interruption. That's classic.
One I tell my kid all the time. That's all I got.
It's
It's
one
so fucking dumb,
that people
so
love.
Dumb.
I am before we get out of here, I'm so proud of you. I am so happy for you. I remember interviewing you for an article that I was writing for a magazine a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just down at the pub.
Yeah.
And it was this very small, wholesome thing. And then I remember you telling me about you wanting to build this facility. And that was over 2 years ago.
Yep.
And I'm just so stoked for you guys because you're great. The beers are fantastic. So it's not a sham. It's not this like somebody that thinks they're too pompous or the local market is telling them that their beer is great and it's actually not. Like you guys are fantastic, and I love what you're doing here. I love you, so it's nice to see all of this kind of come to fruition. And so could you just before we get out, that's the best. Can you just before we get out of here tell us what your plan is for packaging, like where people can buy your beer? Because they can obviously come to the pub or the or to this new brewing facility, which are both in Auburn.
Yep.
But where, like, what do you guys got going on? Where can people buy your beer?
So for indefinite future, the only place you can buy our beer is at North Street, our current location, or State Street. We have no plans of distribution. Even though it's a big facility and we've expanded, we're a 5-barrel brewery at the pub. We're only a 20-barrel brewery here. So it's a modest expansion. You know, we can definitely make more beer. But the reality is, given this environment, and we've gone back and forth about sales, like the market's flooded. There's a lot of beer out there. There are definitely people that want our beer, and I'm appreciative of that. But I have $5 million hanging over my head right now, and I need to retain every single penny I possibly can to
Are you
pay
guys
that
just doing?
off.
So are you doing that treehouse model where you're just trying to sell beer here and that's
Right
it?
out of the pub and out of North Street right now.
Yeah.
I think especially, you know, there's so many different zones in New York State. Like we were originally like, oh, we'll send draft to like the Hudson Valley in New York City, but that doesn't make sense because there's not a lot of on-premise business right now. So we're just canning everything, and I think we're going to get into shipping in the very near future, and then the business will take whatever the beer tells us it needs to do. To close, you know, we did about 650 barrels at the pub last year.
Yeah.
We're planning on doing about 3,000 here in 2021. I feel like we can sell most of that beer out of here and shipping and whatnot. And then we have the capacity to go up to about 6,000 barrels here. If we hit 10,000 barrels in this facility, which we can grow to, we've grown beyond our wildest dreams. And, you know, we'll distribute the beer when the beer tells us it needs to leave the coop, so to speak.
Yeah, listen to your heart. And you also have enough sales on either facility where you can justify just selling out of this place. And the beer is exceptional as well. So you don't have to worry about that distribution
We're
thing.
fortunate.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm super excited for you guys.
Stoked.
Thank you so much for
man.
taking the time to do this. I really do appreciate
Cheers.
it. You know, I care about you a lot and what you guys have going on here. Check out Prison City in Auburn, New York. If you're going to be in the upstate New York area, there's a lot of great breweries up here. These guys are among the best, and they will continue to be, especially with a lot of the barrel aging and cool ship stuff they have going on.
My big bed.
It's pretty amazing, and you're missing out if you don't check it out. So thank you for listening, and see you.
And for me...
For me...